آل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي هجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجاء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يؤذب عذابه أحد ولا يؤثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل Jazakallah. Thank you, Brother Amin, for your beautiful recitation. Always one more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. سلام کے لیے میں درخواست کرتا ہوں برادر ارسلان معصومین سے کہ وہ آئیں اور مولا کی بارگاہ میں اپنا کلام پیش کریں. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
فاتحہ. میرے پردادا مرحوم سید شہزاد حسن معصومی کا کلام.
محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
میرے پردادا مرحوم سید شہزاد حسن معصومی کا کلام پیش خدمت. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. جنت اسی کی ہے اور یہ دنیا اسی کی ہے، سچی کسی کی دل میں ولاغر علی کی ہے. کیا خوف حادثات زمانہ ہو کچھ ہمیں، شہزاد چشم لطف جو ہم پر علی کی ہے. صلوات. جمر کے جینے کا حوصلہ ہے، حسین والوں سے مرنا سیکھو. حسینیت آئینہ ہے حق کا، اس آئینے میں سنورنا سیکھو. مسافران رہے وفا سے، وفا کی تاریخ کہہ رہی ہے. وفا عباس کی ڈگر سے بحسن خوبی گزرنا سیکھو. نفس نفس سے وفا کی خوشبو بسی ہو، شرط وفا یہی ہے. وفا ہے ایک بے قرار سمندر، تم اس کی تہ میں اترنا سیکھو. بھور میں جور و ستم کی گر کر صدا دو عباس با وفا کو. وفا کے پیکر کا نام لے کر غم جہاں سے ابھرنا سیکھو. حبیب جون و بریر بن کر مٹا دو خود کو رہے وفا میں، کہ جناب حر کی مثال بن کر مقدر اپنا بدلنا سیکھو. تصور کربلا کے صدقے صدائے معصومی آ رہی ہے. مٹا کے ہستی رہے وفا میں، لہو سے اپنا نکھرنا سیکھو. صلوات.
جزاک اللہ جزاک اللہ. یہ تھے ارسلان معصومین جنہوں نے اپنے خوبصورت انداز میں اپنا کلام پیش کیا مولا کی بارگاہ میں. اب میں درخواست کرتا ہوں جناب رحیل نتھانی سے کہ وہ آئیں اور مولا کی بارگاہ میں اپنا سلام پیش کریں. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
ایک اور صلوات پر محمد و آل محمد. پردیسی کنبے والوں کی یاد جو تیر چبھوتی ہے، نانا کے روضے پر سگرا چپ کے روتی ہے. آنے والے بھائی کا رستہ تکتی ہے بیمار بہن. آنے والے بھائی کا رستہ تکتی ہے بیمار بہن.
بھائی کی مجبور جوانی نیزہ کھائے سوتی ہے، او باپ کے سینے پر سوتی تھی، وہ بھی ایک زمانہ تھا۔ باپ کے سینے پر سوتی تھی، وہ بھی ایک زمانہ تھا، ایک زمانہ یہ ہے سکینہ خاک کے اوپر سوتی ہے، اور اکبر کی شادی کی تمنا ہائے مقدر سغرا کا، اکبر کی شادی کی تمنا ہائے مقدر سغرا کا، صحرے کی لڑیاں تو نہیں اشکوں کے ہار پہ روتی ہے، جس نے امت کی راہوں میں فرش بچھایا پھولوں کا، جس نے امت کی راہوں میں فرش بچھایا پھولوں کا، امت اس کے بیماروں کی راہ میں کانٹے بوتی ہے، پردیسی کنبے والوں کی یاد جو تیر چبھوتی ہے،
پر محمد والے محمد صلوات۔
Jazakallah, Brother Rahil Nathani, for that heartfelt recitation. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Salman Jafri to recite Surah Salam and Marsiya in honor of the day of Arbaeen with a nice and loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
ایک اور صلوات پڑھی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ ذکر شب
آتے ہیں برابر آنسو ذکر شبیر پہ آتے برابر آنسو اور جب یہ ڈھلتے ہیں تو بن جاتے گوہر آنسو اور جب یہ ڈھلتے ہیں تو بن جاتے ہیں گوہر آنسو اور یہی آنسو تو ہیں اپنے لیے کشتی نجات یہی آنسو تو ہیں اپنے لیے کشتی نجات ہم کو لے جائیں گے ایک دن لب کوثر آنسو ذکر شبیر پر بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات بارے دیگر نعرے صلوات اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا ہے حسین اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا ہے حسین مگر یزید کی گردن جھکا گیا ہے حسین مگر یزید کی گردن جھکا گیا اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا ازل کا تخت بھی تاج ابد بھی اس کا ہے ازل کا تخت بھی تاج ابد بھی اس کا کہ اگلے پچھلے زمانوں پہ چھا گیا ہے حسین اگرچہ رن رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا اور ملا سکے گا نہ اب کوئی حق و باطل، ملا سکے گا نہ اب کوئی حق و باطل، کے درمیان میں رستہ بنا گیا ہے حسین اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا، خدا کے راستے میں دے کے چادر زر، خدا کے راستے میں دے کے چادر زر، خدا کے راستے میں دے کے چادر، غلاف کعبے کی حرمت بچا گیا ہے حسین اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا، غریب کرب و بلا کا چراغ جلتا، غریب کرب و بلا کا چراغ جلتا، عمارتوں کے دیوں کو بجھا گیا، یہ کربلا معلی کا نام کہتا، یہ کربلا معلی کا نام کہتا، کہ آسماں کو زمین پر بچھا گیا، اور جو موت آنا بھی چاہے تو آ نہیں جو موت آنا بھی چاہے تو آ نہیں کہ مرنے والوں کو جینا سکھا گیا اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا، ہمکتے کھیلتے اصغر کی دے کے قربان، ہمکتے کھیلتے اصغر کی دے کے قربان، خدا کے دین کو جھولا جھولا گیا حسین خیام اطرت اظہار تو جلے بے، خیام اطرت اظہار تو جلے بے، مگر یزید کو زندہ جلا گیا ہے حسین اگرچہ رن میں سر اپنا کٹا گیا ہے حسین۔ سورہ فاتحہ۔ ایک اور صلوات پڑھی علی محمد و آل محمد۔ چہلم جو کربلا میں 72 کا ہو چکا، چہلم جو کربلا میں 72 کا ہو چکا، پیوند بے کسوں کے تنو سر کا ہو چکا، اور فاتحہ حسین کے لشکر کا ہو چکا، قبروں پہ شور آل پیمبر کا ہو، قبروں پہ شور آل پیمبر کا ہو چکا، اور ماتم میں 3 روز رہے شور و شین، روئے لپٹ لپٹ کے مزار حسین، روئے لپٹ لپٹ کے مزار حسین، اور مثل چراغ گور غریباں پہ دل پھولوں کے ساتھ قبروں پہ لختے جگر، اور پیاروں کی بود و باش کے سامان جو یار بے ساختہ پکارے کلیجے پکڑ کے، بے ساختہ پکارے کلیجے پکڑ کے، اور ہے وہ پردہ دار ہمارے کدھر، بے پردہ ہو کہ آل نبی در بدر، بے پردہ ہو کہ آل نبی در بدر، اور مقتل کے آس پاس یہ بیواؤں کی زینب جبیں لحد پہ دھرے کرتی تھی، اور اے میرے کربلائی برادر حسین، ہمشیر 3 دن سے تمہاری ہے مہم، ہمشیر 3 دن سے تمہاری ہے مہم، اور اللہ میری بات بھی پوچھی نہ آپ، زندہ کی واردات بھی پوچھی نہ آپ، زندہ کی واردات بھی پوچھی نہ آپ، اور حضرت کی قبر ہل گئی زینب کے بین، آ کر کہا بشیر نے ابن حسین، اور شہزادے جاں بلب ہے پھوپھی شور و شین، چلیے وطن کو قبر شہ مشرقین، چلیے وطن کو قبر شہ مشرق، اور عابد نے پوچھا کیوں پھوپھی اماں کو بول، وہ بولیے اختیار ہے کیا ہاں قبول، وہ بولی اختیار ہے کیا ہاں قبول، اور بھیا اٹھو کجاوے میں مجھ کو تمہیں، بھیا میں بے نقاب ہوں راگیروں کو، اور روکیں کنات اکبر و عباس کو، خالی ہے گود بھابھی کی اصغر کو لیتے، خالی ہے گود بھابھی کی اصغر کو لے، اور سردار سارے قافلے کے آگے ہوتے، تیار کارواں ہوا اور آپ سوتے، تیار کارواں ہوا اور آپ سوتے، اور کب سے تمہیں پکار رہی ہوں میں خط، ہے جواب بھی نہیں دیتے شہیز، اور بھیا گلے لگا لو تو جاؤں سویب، آئی ندا سدھارو خدا حافظ، آئی ندا سدھارو خدا حافظ، اور صغرا کو میری سمت سے بھی پیار کی، ہوگا ثواب خاطر بیمار کی، ہوگا ثواب خاطر بیمار کی، اور زینب پکاری کوچ کا سامان ہو، پھر شہر میرے بھائی کا ویران ہو، اور مقبرہ حسین کا سنسان ہو، کا مقام قتل کا میدان ہو، کا مقام قتل کا میدان ہو، اور آئی مسافروں کو میرے وہ زمین پر، دنیا میں جے زمین کو بستی نہیں، دنیا میں جے زمین کو بستی، اور اے کربلا سرور دلگیر اے قتل گاہ حضرت شبیر اے قبر ابن صاحب تطہیر اے بھائی جان جاتی ہے ہمشیر، اے بھائی جان جاتی ہے ہمشیر، اور کیا بے نصیب ہے یہ نواسی رسول، تم نے مجاوری نہ ہماری قبول، تم نے مجاوری نہ ہماری قبول کی، چہلو جو کربلا میں
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد۔ اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔ اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ Tonight is the fourth in this Arbaeen series of Majlis in which we commemorate 40 days post-martyrdom of Imam Hossein alayhi salam, his family and his noble companions. Peace and blessings be upon all of them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The sponsors for tonight's Majlis are the following families: Dr. Aftab and Mrs. Najmi Hussain, as well as Mr. Sayyid Re'ayat and Mrs. Fatima Hussain. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their a'mal in these holy days and nights of Arbaeen. We remember their marhumeen, your marhumeen, and the marhumeen of all mu'mineen and mu'minat with a Suratul Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim. On this holy night, we also remember those who are in need of dua for their health, safety, and protection in all areas of the world. We remember especially those who are currently participating in the largest peaceful gathering to date. The numbers have come out. It is this year, it's projected 22 million zawar. This is surpassing last year's count by 1 million. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them safety and protection in their endeavor, inshaAllah. Let us recite verse number 62 of Surah An-Naml together 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibul mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Mu'mineen, just a few announcements before we proceed with tonight's Majlis. Tomorrow is going to be the conclusion for the Arbaeen series. Join us with Salat al-Maghribain for the conclusion Majlis by our respected guest scholar, insha'Allah ta'ala. The next series of Majalis after tomorrow is going to be next week. Next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This is September 14th, September 15th, and September 16th. We will be commemorating the passing of none other than our Holy Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. As well as the shahadat of our second holy Imam, Imam Hossein ibn Ali alayhi salatu wa salam. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. These majalis are going to be recited by Sheikh Fayaz Jafar. Your presence is kindly requested. If you're interested in sponsoring, let me know, and inshallah we can make that happen. A few other announcements. The Bibi Sakina daycare is open for enrollment. If you have kids that are ages 2.5 and up, we encourage you, come to the open house. That's going to be this Sunday, September 10th from 11 to 12. Seeing is believing. You'll be witnessing the Montessori curriculum. You'll be talking to the teachers, to the staff, and you'll be seeing this beautiful facility that used to house this masjid in 47 is now a state-of-the-art daycare. So come this Sunday and explore the new Bibi Sakina daycare. If you're interested in enrolling for the daycare as well as for the full-time Islamic school that's enrolling up to grade 3, you can visit sadiqschool.com for more information. Our Sunday school, Jafariya School, is starting in less than 2 weeks on September 17th. It's both the first day of school as well as the parent orientation. Registrations are ongoing. Visit jafariyaschool.com for more information. Mu'mineen, at this time I request that you silence your phones. Parents, please ensure that children are seated next to you throughout the duration of the majlis. And I request you all to stand so you can move forward closer to the mimbar, as I request our respected guest scholar, Maulana Sayyid Hossein Al-Qazwini, to recite tonight's Arbaeen majlis with a nice and loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنا يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. The youth years are some of the most important years in any person's life. They shape one's future. They build his or her character. It is the foundation for every human being. And that is why education in those years, in the youth years, are very important, or extremely important, because they build a person. They build their character. They build their personality. Hence, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, Al-ilmu min al-sighar kal-naqshi fil-hajar. That knowledge during childhood is like engraving in stone. When you engrave in stone, it stays forever. That engravement stays forever. So too is knowledge during childhood. Whatever the child studies as a child, it will remain. It will be imprinted in their mind forever. Children are like tape recorders. Whatever they listen to, they memorize quickly and easily. It is very easy for children to learn, for youth to learn. It is quick, and it is easy. As opposed to adults, when they want to learn something new, it is very hard. It is very hard to memorize, to learn something new. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The Quran gives us examples of several righteous and religious youth that had an impression, that left an impression, that made an impact, that achieved, that contributed. For example, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim, he began his achievements when he was a youth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Quran that when Ibrahim broke the idols, when his people left for a holiday, he came and he broke the idols, except the largest of all idols. They came back and they were wondering who broke the idols. So someone said, there's a youth. قالوا سمعنا فتى. فتى means a youth, a young man. سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. We've heard of a young man mentioning these idols, and his name is Ibrahim. He must have done it. Ibrahim was 15 years old, 16 years old when he broke the idols, and he thought of a witty way, a very smart way of putting the axe on the neck of the largest idol. قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا يا إبراهيم? They told him, did you do this to our gods and our idols? He said, no. قال بل فعله كبيرهم. No, I didn't. It was the biggest one. Look whose axe, look where the axe is. It's on the neck of the biggest one. فَاسْأَلُوهُمْ إِن كَانُوا يَنْطِقُونَ. Ask them. If they speak, they will tell you. But obviously, they don't speak. His son Ismail, Allah tells us that at a very young age, Ismail was willing to sacrifice his life. His father saw in a dream that he is slaughtering his son. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ. Ibrahim told his son that, my son, I see in my dream that I'm slaughtering you. فَانظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. Tell me, what do you think? What do you think I should do? قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر. My father, do as you're told. Do as you're ordered. Meaning Ismail at that young age knew that this was a divine command from Allah Azza wa Jal, that he needs to take the life of his son. ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. Inshallah, you will find me amongst the patient. Ismail was young, yet he was willing to sacrifice his life for the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. And also, when we talk about building the Kaaba, we usually ascribe building the Kaaba to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim was the first to build the Kaaba. But the Quran tells us that Ibrahim had a helper. Whom? Ismail. Ismail was a youth when he built the Kaaba. وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلُ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. It was Ismail who also helped his father build the Kaaba. But usually the credit goes to the father and not the son. While Ismail was very young, he built the holiest house on earth. Allah also tells us about Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, and how he was able to conquer his desire and not to allow his desire to conquer him and overcome him. And in fact, he chose to go to prison instead of disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه. Oh Allah, going to prison is more desirable to me than what they are calling me to do. Who? Zulaykha and the women of Egypt at the time, they were trying to seduce him. They were trying to seduce a very young and attractive and energetic Yusuf alayhi salam. But he didn't succumb to his desires. Allah Azza wa Jal also gives us the example of Ahl al-Kahf. إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف. Fitya means young men. إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. The people of the cave, the people of the Kahf, they ran away from oppression. There was a tyrant at the time. There was an oppressive tyrant at the time. They left. They decided to leave, to not see oppression and to avoid oppression. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immortalizes them in the Quran and remembers them as youth. They were youth. إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. They were a young men that believed in their Lord. From all of this, my dear friends, we see that the Quran sends a message to the youth that you too can change the course of history, that you too can achieve and your names can be immortalized. Just like the other youth before you, you also have something to contribute. Although you're youth, but there's something that you can do, you can achieve, you can make use of your energy, you can make use of your enthusiasm, you can make a difference in people's lives as long as you're self-determined and you take the initiative and you're active, you're not passive. You take on the initiative, you take the initiative and be active, you can make a difference and you can change the course of history. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. During the time of Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Hilli, Shah Khuda Banda of Iran, please welcome Samahat al-Sheikh Shirwani, our dear friend, with a loud salawat. And in his honor, another salawat. During the time of Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Hilli, in Iran, there was the Shah Khuda Banda. One day, he asks his wife to make him a shisha. The shisha, yes, that a lot of youth today, they smoke. He asked her to make him a shisha. So she played a joke on him. Instead of putting coil, she put rubies. So he kept on smoking, and there's no smoke coming out. Smoking, and no smoke coming out. He got upset. He discovered that she played a joke on him. He divorced her. Triple divorce. He said, أنتِ طالق بالثلاث. I divorce you 3 times. Now, according to the Sunni madhab, if you divorce your wife 3 times, can you go back to her? You can no longer go back to her unless she marries someone else. So he called the ulama of the time that I want to go back to my wife. They said, you can't. She has to marry someone else. Someone marries my wife? Impossible. You have to find me a solution. They told him there's no solution. The Hanafi, Hanbali, Shafi'i, Maliki scholars, they all agreed that you have to marry someone else. She has to marry someone else. His minister, he told him there's another madhab, there's another school of thought that has a solution. And the alim, the top scholar of this madhab is in Hilla, in Iraq. So send someone to bring him. So he sent a messenger to Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Hilli that the Shah of Iran wants you. He said, I can't go, but I will send you my nephew, my 16-year-old nephew, Al-Allama Al-Hilli, Yusuf ibn al-Mutahhar Al-Hilli, rahmatullahi alayh. We will come back to Al-Allama Al-Hilli. There's an interesting story. His entire life is interesting. Al-Allama Al-Hilli is a miracle, is a genius. He needs to be celebrated. So he goes, 16 years old. His beard hadn't even come out yet, or very slightly. He goes in the court of Shah Khuda Bende. He takes off his shoes. He puts it under his arms, under his armpit. And he goes and he sees there is a seat next to Shah Khuda Bende. When all of the other ulama are seated below, he goes and he sits next to the Shah. So the court is in uproar. What are you doing? A 16-year-old young man sitting next to the Shah. Did you seek anyone's permission? And on top of that, you have your sandals, you have your shoes under your armpit. What are you doing? He said, yes, because this is what Abu Hanifa did in the presence of Rasulullah. They told him, Abu Hanifa? The Hanafi scholar got upset. He said, where was Abu Hanifa during the time of Rasulullah? Abu Hanifa did not even exist at the time of Rasulullah. He said, oh, I'm sorry, I meant Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The Hanbali scholar got upset. He said, Ahmad ibn Hanbal wasn't there at the time. He said, oh, it must have been Malik ibn Anas. The Maliki scholar got upset. He said, it was Shafi'i. The Shafi'i scholar got upset. He said, oh, so you all agree that none of these scholars were present during the time of Rasulullah. Then why is it that you take your fiqh from them and you abandon Ali ibn Abi Talib? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Shah Khuda Bende, he smiled. He realized that this young man has something intriguing to say, something insightful to say. So he said, yes, continue. He said, if you ask Ali ibn Abi Talib says that this divorce is only once. It's not a triple divorce. If you say this, Anti taliq bithalath, this is actually a one divorce. And you can go back to your wife. Shah Khuda Bende said, khalas, this is it. From this day and on, I am a follower of the madhab of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And from this day on, the official school of thought in Iran will be the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. Why? Because of a young man, of a 16-year-old man named Al-Allama Al-Hilli. Don't ever say, I cannot achieve, I'm too young. There's nothing that I could do. I can't make a difference. If Al-Allama Al-Hilli at the age of 16 years old, he changed the course of history in Iran, so can you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The years of youth have three qualities, my dear friends. Three qualities. There's a lot of qualities, but we want to discuss three main qualities. Number one, flexibility. What do I mean by that? When you're a youth, you can change your habits easily. You can give up a bad habit. You can pick up good habits. This is not difficult. When you're young, when you're a youth, you're like mold. You're like clay that could be molded easily. It could be molded easily. When you're older, it's difficult to give up bad habits, old habits. They say old habits die hard. But when you're a youth, you can easily change. You can change your thoughts. You can change your ideas, your perceptions. There's flexibility. When you're young, you can easily change. But when you're old, and these thoughts and ideas and theories have lived with you for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, it's hard to give up on those ideas. It's hard. But when you're a youth, you can easily be persuaded. You can be influenced. You're flexible. You know, all ideas are like trees. Old ideas are like old trees. Is it easy to pluck out an old tree? A tree that has existed for 30 years, 40 years? No, because its roots are inside the ground. It's firmly rooted. It's hard to pluck out that tree. But a young tree, it could easily pluck out. Easily. Young ideas with the youth, you could easily change. You could easily persuade them to give up those ideas, those thoughts, especially if they're negative, if they're harming them. Thus, youth are flexible. And that is why there's an emphasis on working on youth, teaching them, mentoring them, influencing them, protecting them, nurturing them intellectually, ideologically, catering to the youth, going after the youth before others get to them, before others try to deviate our youth. We have to work on them because youth can easily be deviated. They can go on the wrong path. They could easily be convinced and influenced. Hence, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, بادروا أحداثكم بالحديث قبل أن يسبقكم إليهم المرجئة. He says, quickly teach your youth hadith, the hadith of Ahlul Bayt. Let the youth wake up with the hadith of Ahlul Bayt. The first thing that they learn is the hadith of Ahlul Bayt. There is nothing more cherishable than the hadith and sayings of Ahlul Bayt. Before others get to them, before the murji'ah get to them. Back then it was the murji'ah. Today there's so many other movements. There's so many other movements that are like wolves going after sheep. They're just waiting to get victims. They're preying on our youth. We have to care for them, nurture them, cater to them. You know, most deviant movements throughout history, they begin with the youth. They cater to the youth. In recent history, the Communist Party in Iraq, they would go after college students, university students. They wouldn't go to cafes to look for old men to come and register in the Communist Party. No, they'd go for the youth. College students, university students, because they're the ones that matter. Because they're the pride of the community. They're the energy of the community. They're the backbone of the community. They would go after college students. And even in Iran, in the 60s, when the Communist Party, the Tudeh Party, they were very active, they'd go after college students, university students. And hence, Al-Shahid Mutahari, Ayatollah Al-Shahid Mutahari, who's a brilliant scholar, who if he had stayed in Qom, he would have been one of our top maraja. Possibly. He would have been a top marja. But he decided to leave Qom and go to Tehran and go to university. And he began teaching at university. Why? To protect the youth. Because the Communist Party, they were after the youth. They needed someone to nurture them, someone to look after them, someone to educate them, nurture them intellectually, ideologically. All of these movements, they start with the youth. The socialist movement, the Arab nationalist movement, the Ba'athist movement. Even the Ba'athists in Iraq, they went after the youth. They would make sure that the youth register in their parties. Jamal Abdel Nasser, the Arab nationalist movement, when he began, it was the youth that registered. They were in awe of Jamal Abdel Nasser, speaking in Arab nationalism. Everyone was, all the youth, they were in awe of Jamal Abdel Nasser. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, "Alaykum bil hadath." Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. عليكم بالحدث فإنهم أسرع إلى كل شيء. Take care of the youth because they are the quickest to join everything. Look at all the different kinds of movements, the good and the bad, the left, the right. Who is the first to join these movements? It's the youth. The youth are the first to register, whether they are good movements or bad movements. They're the first to join. Even in the movement of Sayyid al-Khomeini rahmatullahi alayh, in the 70s, who were the first to join his ranks? It was the youth. The youth were the first to join. Al-Shahid Al-Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr in Iraq, it was the youth that gathered around him. Al-Shahid Al-Sayyid Muhammad al-Sadr, who was killed in 1998, it was the youth that revolved around him, gathered around him. It's always the youth in the front lines. They're the first to join. They're energetic, they're enthusiastic. And that's why we have to be careful because the soldiers that are on the front lines, they're also the first victims as well. They're the first ones to go down as well. They received the first bullets. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Today we have a crisis, my dear friends. Today there's a crisis in the West, starting in the United States, in Europe, in Australia, in New Zealand. There's the whole notion of gender. Gender. There's a gender movement. And they're coming after our youth. They're coming after our children. My son and your son, our kids, they're coming after them. They're telling them that gender is up to you. Do you want to be a man? Do you want to be a woman? You don't want to be either. You want to be both. You want to be a third, something else. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. There's kids at the age of 6, 7, 8. They're teaching them that gender is up to you. Why are they coming after our children? Why don't they come after us? Why don't they come after the adults? Because do you think they'll be able to persuade us? No, they're coming after our kids. That's the dangerous part. And the whole LGBT community. You know, what they want to do in their homes, that's up to them. We could care less. But once you come for our kids, you come after our kids. No. It becomes dangerous. That's a red line. Leave our kids out of it. You want to do what you want to do? That's up to you. But keep our kids out of it. They're coming after our kids and our children. And they're trying to indoctrinate them that it's okay. A family made of a man and a man, that's okay. A family made of a woman and a woman, that's okay. No, that is not okay. Maybe it's okay for you. It's not okay for us. This is not what our religion teaches us. This is not where our fitrah, my innate nature, it refuses this. Science refuses this. Don't try to come after my kids. And they are in TV series, in the movies, even in kids' movies, Disney movies, Avenger movies. They're coming after our kids. They're trying to indoctrinate them so that they raise an entire generation. They're okay with this. 10 years from now, it's okay. Seeing 2 men or 2 women becomes normal. You become desensitized because you see it so much on TV, in every movie, in every TV series. It becomes desensitized. You become desensitized. It becomes something very normal. They're coming after our kids. We have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. And even the whole, even social media. Look at TikTok. Look at TikTok. Which one of our kids doesn't have TikTok? Who? All of our kids. They use TikTok. They're on their devices from morning till night, especially during summer when there's no school, and they keep on scrolling. One reel after another. First of all, it's destroying their brain. It's destroying their attention span. Their attention span is 30 seconds because these reels are only 30 seconds. So for them to sit for an hour of a boring lecture for myself, it takes a lot of patience. And I wish that there were useful videos. It's all music. It's all dancing. It's all rubbish. It's full of rubbish that they're destroying our kids. Previously, when we were kids, we'd go out, we'd play sports, we'd play soccer. Today, kids don't even play sports anymore because they're always on their gadgets. They call them the silent generation. The silent generation. Have you seen little kids now? When they sit together, they don't even talk to each other. They're silent. They could go on for 3 hours without talking because they're on TikTok and on these devices. They're coming after our children. They're coming after our children. Let me say one thing here. وصلى على محمد وعلى محمد. My dear brothers and sisters, you here in New Jersey, here specifically in Somerset, you're very, very lucky. Let me tell you. Take this from someone that travels across the world. And I travel across the United States and Europe. Here you have a beautiful state-of-the-art school called Sadiq School. State-of-the-art. I saw it with my own eyes. Beautiful, beautiful school. And I've heard that not a lot of parents are enrolling their kids in the school. Why? You have an Islamic school that has an Islamic curriculum. None of this gender issues is in the curriculum. They're protecting your children. And you're not enrolling your children? Why? This is kufr and ni'mah. This is called kufr and ni'mah. You're not thanking Allah's blessing upon you. And when we do not thank Allah's blessing, what does Allah do? He takes that ni'mah away. He takes the bounty away. Please, I beg you, don't do anything for Allah to take this ni'mah away from you. You're blessed to have a school for your children. You know, I've been to so many communities, they wish to have an Islamic school. It's their dream to have an Islamic school. I know some Muslim families that are moving. They're moving. They say, khalas, I'm not going to stay in America anymore. I'm not staying in Canada anymore. Why? Because they don't have a school. If they had a school, they would stay. You have a school in your community. Appreciate it. Take advantage of it. Enroll your children. If you haven't done so today, go and do it tomorrow. Enroll your children. Protect them. Protect them. You live in a dangerous society. Protect them. Put them in an Islamic school. May Allah bless the organizers who have put a state-of-the-art school. State-of-the-art school. Make use of it. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Youth years, my dear friends, they build a person. We are built in our youth. Today we are attending Majalis. Why? We learned about Majalis when we were 40 years old and 50 years old? No, because our parents, they brought us to our Majalis when we were young. When we were children, our parents would hold our hands and bring us to these Majalis. It was these Majalis, it was those years that built us and made us who we are. Thus, these years, my dear friends, of a youth, they are character building. They provide us with a strong foundation. If the foundation is strong, you have nothing to worry about. If the foundation is weak, you have everything to worry about. It's just like a building. It's just like a building. If an engineer comes, he rushes and he builds a building with a very weak foundation. After a couple of years, the building might collapse. With a simple earthquake, the building will collapse. But if you have a strong foundation, the building will last and last for many years. أفمن, look at the Quran. أفمن أسس بنيانه على تقوى من الله ورضوان خير أم من أسس بنيانه على شفا جرف هار فانهار به إلى نار جهنم. He who builds a foundation upon taqwa, upon piety, this foundation will last. But someone who does not build a foundation upon taqwa, it's a weak foundation. It's like building a foundation next to a cliff. Have you seen a house on a cliff? The house will be destroyed. The house is about to fall off the cliff. This is not a real foundation. Hence, my dear friends, we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that on the Day of Judgment we will be asked about 5 things. One of those 5 things is what? Our youth. وَعَنْ شَبَابِهِ فِيمَا أَبْلَاهُ. We will be asked on the Day of Judgment, how did you spend your youth? How did you spend your hours? What did you do when you were young? How did you spend it? We will be asked on the Day of Judgment. This is the first quality. The second quality, my dear friends, of youth is rebellion. Especially teenagers. They could be rebellious, and this is very normal. Why? Because this teenager is no longer a child. He was a child. Now he's, or her, or she, they're transforming. They're becoming young adults. They're going through changes, mental changes, biological changes, psychological changes. They're changing. Thus, they're not the small child that they used to be, where you tell them do this, do that, and they'll say yes. Now, they'll challenge you. They'll challenge you. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to come to the masjid? A lot of us, I know a lot of parents, they complain, they say, you know, when my kids, they were young, I'd bring them to the masjid without complaints. Now that they're older, now that they really need the masjid, they don't want to come. They challenge me. Why should I come to the masjid? Why do I need to listen to a lecture? So they begin to ask why. They begin to challenge. This is normal. There's no need to panic. There's no need to fight with them and argue with them. On the contrary, we need to be understanding of youth when they're undergoing these challenges. When they're undergoing these changes, they're transforming. They're developing themselves. They're discovering themselves. They're trying to express themselves. We have to be accommodating. Be patient with your youth. Be patient with this teenager because they're changing. They're developing biologically. Be patient with them. Be patient with them. They will change. They will come to their senses. Sooner or later, they will come to their senses. So this is another quality. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The third quality of youth is ambitious. They have ambitions. They have aspirations. They want to see the world. They want to meet people. They want to become someone. They want to leave an everlasting effect on people's lives. They want to make a difference in people's lives. They have goals and aspirations. You know, the difference between a youth and an elderly are like two passengers. One has just arrived to his final destination, and the one is just taking off. They're two passengers. One has come from a very long journey, has seen the world, has traveled long and far distances, has seen everything, and now has come to relax and get a good night rest at home. The other has just packed. They're starting on a journey. They have a lot of flights ahead of them. There's a long journey ahead of them. They want to see the entire world. They want to discover. They have ambitions. They have aspirations. This is what a youth is. They have goals. If you really want to have an effect on a youth's life, help them reach their goals. Help them reach their aspirations. Guide them. You can't force them, but you can guide them. You can show them the way. You can put them in the right direction. Some youth, all they need is a little push. Push them in the right direction. Motivate them. And a lot of good can come from them. So much good can come from them. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was once with a group of companions, his top companions. Zurara, Muhammad ibn Muslim, these great companions who were jurists, who were fuqaha. But one of Imam al-Sadiq's most favorite companions was whom? Hisham ibn al-Hakam. Hisham ibn al-Hakam was a youth, maybe 16, 17 years old. Like Al-Alam al-Halli, his beard wasn't complete. So he would sit in the end of the majlis. He was shy. He wouldn't come with the top scholars of the Imam's companions like Zurara and Muhammad ibn Muslim. He would sit in the end. One day, Imam Sadiq was with his companions. He called Hisham. He told him, "Come here, Hisham. I want to ask you a question. Tell me what happened with Amr ibn Ubaid in Basra." Hisham was shy. He said, "Ya ibn Rasulullah, excuse me. I'm embarrassed to say this in front of you and your top companions and students." Imam Sadiq told him, إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَامْتَثِلُوا. When I tell you something, do as I tell you. I want to hear this story from you. Imam Sadiq knows the story, but he wants his companions to listen. Hisham ibn al-Hakam, my dear friends, he was brilliant. At the age of 16, he was a scholar, he was a theologian, and he was very talented in debates, in polemics. He was excellent in debates. He said, one day I was in Basra, and there's Amr ibn Ubaid. Amr ibn Ubaid is a scholar, is a Sunni scholar. He has a very big halaqah. His students would gather around him, and he'd lecture. And his lecture was about not having imams, that there's no imams. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never appointed an imam. Rather, it is for people to choose the imam. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُم. People can choose the imam by shura. So Amr ibn Ubaid, he said, I cut the lines, and I came and I sat right in front of Amr ibn Ubaid. I told him, Shaykh, I have a question. Do you allow me to ask you? He said, ask. I asked him, do you have eyes? He said, what sort of stupid question is this? Of course I have eyes. He said, I'm asking a question, answer me. And if you think it's a stupid question at the end, I'll stop. But answer me. He said, yes, ask. He said, do you have eyes? He said, yes, I have eyes. What do you do with your eyes? I see. He said, do you have a nose? Yes, I have a nose. What do you do with your nose? I smell. Do you have a tongue? Yes, I have a tongue. What do you do with your tongue? I taste. Do you have ears? Yes. What do you do? I hear. He said, do you have a mind? He said, yes, I have a mind. He said, why do you need a mind? If you can see with your eyes, and hear with your ears, and smell with your tongue, with your nose, and taste with your tongue, why do you need a mind? He said, because sometimes these senses, they mix up, and they get confused. So the one that solves the confusion is my mind. He told him, can you give me an example? He said, yes. Sometimes I eat a fruit. My taste, my tongue tells me it's an apple, but my smell tells me, for example, it's an orange. But my mind solves the situation. My mind gives me the right answer. Hisham told him, if Allah put the mind in your body to decipher between confusion, to fix people's confusion, He did not put an imam on earth to fix people's confusion? You deny the fact that Allah has put an imam on earth with all of this confusion? Amr ibn Ubaid, he said, he looked at me, he said, you must be Hisham ibn al-Hakam. You're Hisham ibn al-Hakam. He said, no, I'm not. He said, are you one of his disciples? He said, no, I'm not. He said, are you from Kufa? He said, yes, I am. He said, then you are Hisham ibn al-Hakam. You are Hisham. Here the hadith, and this hadith is in Al-Kafi, and it has a sahih sanad, authentic chain of narrators. Imam al-Sadiq was laughing from joy. From joy. Why? To see one of his youth like this. So knowledgeable, so talented, so witty and intelligent. Now today, how many do we have like Hisham ibn al-Hakam? How many of our youth? Have we raised youth like Hisham ibn al-Hakam? Believe me, if we had 10 youth like Hisham ibn al-Hakam, we'd conquer the world. We'd conquer the world. So Imam al-Sadiq asked Hisham, he told him, who taught you this? He told him, my master, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I learned this from you. I learned it from you. Imam al-Sadiq told him, إِنَّ هَذَا لَفِي صُحُفِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى. This is in the scripture of Ibrahim and Musa, ya Hisham. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. طيب. What is our responsibility towards youth, my dear friends? Number one, we should give them opportunities. Our youth can be great leaders if we give them that opportunity. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't give them the opportunity. But if we give them the opportunity to become leaders, put them in leadership positions, they can live up to the bar. They can live up to the responsibility. At our Islamic centers, at our mosques, at our organizations, our conferences, let's give room for the new generation. They come with fresh ideas, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. And I know, alhamdulillah, here at Masjid-e-Ali, this is taking place. We need to expand this idea. And at all of our Islamic centers, our mosque, our Hossein, let's give room for the youth. Let us pass on the torch to them. We did our job. Now let us give room for the new generation. Let us see how they can achieve and expand the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. They will come with fresh blood, fresh ideas, full of energy. This is one. Two, my dear friends, we cannot force our culture and our habits on our youth. This is very important. We cannot force them to accept our standards. I was raised in a way. Does that mean that I have to raise my children in the same exact way? No, this is oppression. This is dhulm. This is dhulm. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, in the end of Nahj al-Balagha, there's a hadith ascribed to him. Ascribed to him, meaning it could be his, it could not be his. But it's a beautiful hadith at the end of the day. It's found in Nahj al-Balagha. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, لا تكرهوا أبناءكم على عاداتكم. Do not force your children upon your culture and habits, your standards. فإنهم خلقوا لزمان غير زمانكم. For they have been created for a time different from your time. Different from your time. I see a lot of parents, they tell their children, you know, when I was growing up in Iraq or India or Pakistan or Iran or Afghanistan or Lebanon, I would receive $1 a week. Bro, this was 50 years ago. This was 70 years ago. Times have changed. Now you're in Somerset, New Jersey. You're right next door to New York, one of the greatest cities in the world. The Big Apple. Times have changed. We cannot expect our children to live with the same standards. Or we tell our children, you know, back in the day, we never went to the mall. We didn't even know what a mall was. We never went to the movie theater. We never. We understand that. But today, kids are different. It's a new generation. It's a different generation. I cannot expect to raise my children the same way my father raised me. And expect my children to raise their children the way I raised them. It doesn't work that way. Every generation has its challenges. There's different times. Times are moving, especially for us migrants. For those of us that grew up in the Middle East. Now our children, they're first generation. They're first generation here in America. A lot of the things that we believe in, they don't get. They don't understand. We have to be careful how to deal with them and not force our ideas upon them. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Another thing, my dear friends, youth need mentors. They need an older brother. They need someone to influence them, inspire them, motivate them. A lot of youth, they're full of energy, they're full of potential, but that potential is yet to be discovered. Someone needs to come and discover the potential and let them loose, to inspire them, motivate them. The hadith says, وَإِنَّمَا قَلْبُ الْحَدَثِ كَالْأَرْضِ الْخَالِيَةِ مَا أُلْقِيَ فِيهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ قَبِلَهُ. That the heart of a youth is like a fertile field. Anything you plant will grow. Anything you plant in the heart of a youth, it will grow quickly. They can easily be influenced. They just need someone to inspire them. Inspire them, and they will be inspired. I'll give you a personal experience. I was 12 years old. One summer, we were in California. I remember when I was young, I had the idea of being a dentist. I don't know who tricked me, told me I should be a dentist. So I had the idea of becoming a dentist. One summer, I was 12 years old. I went to Iran, and we had family members in Iran. I remember there was a scholar that was studying in Hawza, and he was of a good caliber. He was a good caliber. He was studying Bahth al-Kharij, the highest stage in Hawza, and I was only 12 years old. We were in Tehran. That night, the scholar, who was part of the family, he stayed up with me till 2 in the morning. He told me, "What do you want to be?" I told him, I'm thinking of being a dentist. He said, "Dentist? Why don't you become a alim? Your father is a alim. Your grandfather is a alim. Your great-grandfather is a alim. This lives in your family. Being a alim, to guide people, to influence people, to have an effect on people." That night, I made a switch from being a dentist to being a alim. All it took was a couple of years. All it took was a couple of hours for someone to motivate me, to come and influence me. Why? For the first time, I saw an alim sitting with a child, a 12-year-old child, and speaking to me as if I'm a grown-up, an adult. That had a major impact on me. And from that day, I decided, khalas, this is what I want to be. I want to become an alim. Some youth, all they want is to be influenced, to be motivated, to be inspired, and imagine what they can do. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Having said that, youth also, when it's time to play, they need to play. When it's time to be serious, they have to be serious. But there's also a time to play. And this is natural, part of human nature for children to play. There's a need in every child to play. They have that energy. We should allow them. We should not stop children from playing, or youth from playing, from enjoying themselves, for having their entertainment. That's absolutely fine. The Imam says, اجعله اتركه يلعب سبعا. Allow him to play for 7 years. وعلمه سبعا. And teach him for 7 years. واصحبه سبعا. And have him walk with you for 7 years. 7 by 7 by 7. The Imam has laid out a plan. Let him play. Let him enjoy himself. In fact, it's been proven that children who were not allowed to play when they were kids, they will take it out when they're adults. They will take it out with adults. Have you seen these 70-year-old men with these sports cars? These fancy sport cars? There's something happened when they were young. They were prevented from playing. The desire stays. If you were not allowed to play when you're a youth, you're going to want to play when you're an adult. It's a desire. When it's time to play, play. And when it's time to be serious, be serious. Al-Allam al-Hilli, I told you we're going to come back to Al-Allam al-Hilli. Al-Allam al-Hilli was 10 years old, on his way to ijtihad. He was on his way to ijtihad at the age of 10. He was almost a mujtahid at the age of 10. But he would also play. He would study and play at the same time. One day, he was misbehaving. Al-Allam al-Hilli was misbehaving. His father started chasing after him to discipline him. So in order to run away from his father, he recited ayat al-sajda. He made his father perform sujood and he ran away from his father. This was Al-Alam Al-Hilli. Play and at the same time study. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In this age, we teach them etiquettes, we teach them manners, we teach them ethics, we teach them akhlaq. خير ما, this hadith, خير ما يورث الأبناء الآباء إلى الأبناء الأدب. The best thing that we can inherit to our children is not our money, not our estates, not our lands and homes, but our akhlaq and etiquettes. So that after we're gone, people will say, may Allah bless this person's father. Look how he disciplined his child. وَلَوْلَا الْمُرَبِّي لَمَا عَرَفْتُ رَبِّي. If it wasn't for my discipliner, the one who disciplined me, I would have not known my Lord. If it wasn't for my teacher, I would not have known my Creator. The Imam says, look at Ismail alayhi salam. When Allah mentions Ismail, He says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ. Meaning that Ibrahim and Ismail were always together. Whenever Ibrahim would leave the house, Ismail was with him. Today, do you ever see children with their fathers? Or young men, teenagers that go out with their fathers to Majlis, to people's homes? No. No. Teenagers are always at home. Do you see young women that leave the house with their mothers for Majlis or other places? It's rare. It's rare. Unfortunately, we stopped taking our kids with us. When we go to places, when we visit other community members, when we go to a funeral, when we come to a majlis, we have to take our children with us, our youth with us. That is how they learn. Not just by preaching, but by example. By example. Look at Luqman and how he admonishes his son. وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعَظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. Gently admonishing his son, calmly admonishing. Today, my dear friends, we as parents, we have shortcomings. We're not spending enough time with our children. We're too busy with our businesses. At work, we're busy with business. At home, it's WhatsApp. We're on our phone. The mother is on the phone and the kids are on TikTok. What do you expect? What do you expect from this household? Where are we headed? Where are we going? We don't even spend time with our children. We don't ask them what happened at school. Who are your friends? What are you doing with your friends? What are your grades like in school? We don't spend enough time. All we're worried about is our business, our money. Believe me, if we make all the money in the world, but we lose our son and daughter, that means we've lost everything. We can make all the money in the world, but if I lose my son or daughter to other movements that we talked about earlier, we've lost everything. You've lost everything. We haven't gained anything. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, he says, لَجُلُوسُ أَحَدِكُمْ مَعَ عِيَالِهِ سَاعَةً أَفْضَلُ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ أَحَدِكُمْ فِي مَسْجِدِ هَذَا. He says, for one of you to sit with your family for 1 hour is greater than worshipping in my masjid, Masjid al-Nabi. To sit for 1 hour with your family. Even if you're joking, even if you're saying jokes, if you're making them smile, if you're making them laugh. You don't have to talk about the Quran. If you do that, that's even better. If you discuss the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, that's even better. But even if you don't do that, just spend time with your family. It is greater than the worship in Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the hadith. Just spending time with the family. You see, my dear friends, youth have always been in the front lines. They've always been in the front lines. If we read the history of prophets and the imams, we will see that the youth, they were always in the front lines. With Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh, فَقَالَ الْمَلَأُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ قَوْمِهِ مَا نَرَاكَ إِلَّا بَشَرًا. His people, they would ridicule him. They told him, you're just a human being. وَمَا نَرَاكَ اتَّبَعَكَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ هُمْ أَرَاذِلُنَا بَادِيَ الرَّأْيِ. We see that only youth have gathered around you. His enemies, they told him, we only see youth gathered around you. As if this is a bad thing. This was a good thing. But they saw it as a bad thing. That Nuh wasn't able to attract the elders, but he was able to attract the youth. This was something positive. But it was seen as something negative. Musa alayhi salam. فَمَا آمَنَ لِمُوسَى إِلَّا ذُرِّيَّةٌ مِّن قَوْمِهِ. Dhurriya means shabab, means youth. The Quran says only a handful of youth believed in Musa alayhi salam. It was the youth that accepted Musa, not the elders. And as for Khatamul Anbiya Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, "Usikum bishababi khayra." I tell you to take care of youth, cater to youth, watch out after the youth. فَإِنَّهُمْ أَرَقُّ أَفْئِدَةً, because they have softer hearts. And then he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَعَثَنِي بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا فَحَالَفَنِي الشُّبَّانِ وَخَالَفَنِي الشُّيُوخ. Allah sent me as a messenger. The youth accepted me, the elders rejected me. Rasulullah says the elders rejected me. And indeed, the elders of Quraysh rejected him, the youth of Quraysh accepted him. It was the youth that accepted Rasulullah and came close to Rasulullah, like Ammar bin Yasir. Unlike the other Sahaba who gathered around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Quraysh, they came to Abu Talib, they complained about Rasulullah. What did they tell Abu Talib? They told him, "Inna ibn akhik sabba alihatana." Your nephew has cursed our gods, our idols. وَسَفَّهَ أَحْلَامَنَا, and he's ruined our dreams. وَأَفْسَدَ شَبَابَنَا, and he's corrupted our youth. That means Rasulullah was making a difference in the youth. He was attracting the youth. They were in the front lines. The youth were always in the front lines. And even with Imam Hossein alayhi salam. Who were surrounding Imam Hossein alayhi salam? Was it not the youth? Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. You know, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, when we mention him, when we imagine him to be someone old. Because of the amount of respect that we have for him, we imagine him to be old. No, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was in his 30s. He was a youth. He was in his 30s. Ali al-Akbar was in his 20s. Al-Qasim was 14 years old. It was these youth that gathered around Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It was these youth that told Imam Hussein on the night of Ashura that if we were to be cut into pieces and we were burnt and our ashes were scattered in the wind and we'd come back to life and they'd cut us into pieces and they'd burn us and our ashes were to be scattered in the wind, and for that to take place 70 times, we would not abandon you, Ya Aba Abdullah. We live after you. Hayhat. Nahnu na'ish ba'dak. Life has meaning after you, Aba Abdullah. These were the youth. And hence Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam in his ziyarah, he tells the shuhada, Bi'abi antum wa ummi. May my mother and father be a sacrifice for you. An infallible Imam is speaking to these gentlemen in this way. May my mother and father be a sacrifice for you. Now let's come to Karbala. Let's see what is happening today on the 40th in Karbala. When Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam and Sayyidah Zainab and the caravan of Imam Hussein, they set out from Sham. Imam Zayn al-Abidin made a request. He made a request. And this request was granted. What was that request? He said, I want the heads of my father and our companions. Give us their heads. Yazid had displayed the heads of Imam Hussein and his companions in front of him. Yazid would drink alcohol, and if there was something remaining in the bottle, he would pour it on the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And he would hit the lips of Imam Hussein with his khayzaran. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he said, give us back the heads. We want to leave. They took back the heads and they set out back to Medina. Yet the caravan, they asked the guide, Murra bina ala masari'i qatlana. If we can pass by Karbala, then let us stop in Karbala. Let us see what has befallen upon our shuhada. Are they buried? Did anyone wash them? Did anyone shroud them? Did anyone bury them? What happened to their mutilated bodies? They come back, they reach Karbala. They arrive in Karbala. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam finds Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari had arrived before them. Imam Zayn al-Abidin comes to Jabir. Ya Jabir, ha huna qutila ashabuna. Ha huna subiyat nisa'una. Ya Jabir, do you know what happened in this land? Where were you, Ya Jabir? Were you here to see what happened to my father? What happened to my uncle Al-Abbas? What happened to my aunt Zainab? She was stripped off of her hijab, Ya Jabir. You were not here to see what happened. And on a day like this, they held a Majlis in Karbala. The first Majlis to be held in Karbala occurred on the 40th, on the Arbaeen of Imam Hossein. They brought the heads with them. The heads were on the spears. They brought back the heads and they put each head in its proper grave. The heads and the bodies had separated for 40 days. Now the head of Imam Hussein goes back in its grave. The head of Imam Hussein was the only solace for Sayyidah Zainab. It had kept her patient. Now she had to say farewell to the head of Imam Hussein. Sayyidah Zainab sees the grave of Imam Hussein for the first time. Imagine the emotions, what Sayyidah Zainab was feeling when she saw the grave of Imam Hussein for the very first time. It's as if Sayyidah Zainab could smell Imam Hussein from a distance. The same way that Yaqub, when they bought the shirt of Yusuf, from miles and miles away, he said, Inni la ajidu riha Yusuf. I can smell Yusuf from a long distance. Sayyidah Zainab can smell her brother Hussein from a long distance. She came to the grave of Imam Hussein. For 40 nights, my dear brother, I left you. Now I've come back to see you and you're in your grave. And I've come back with your head, Ya Aba Abdullah. Akhi Aba Abdullah, I want to tell you something, but brother, don't be upset at me, please. I'm very embarrassed of you. One of your daughters, Ruqayya, we lost her in Sham. Akhi Aba Abdullah, please don't be upset at me. We lost Ruqayya in Sham. We buried her in Sham. Aba Abdullah, I know I made a promise to take care of your children and your orphans, but we lost Ruqayya, Ya Aba Abdullah. All of these women, all of the widows, each one goes to one of the graves. Layla goes to the grave of Ali al-Akbar. Ramla goes to the grave of Al-Qasim. Each one goes to the grave of her loved one. Rabab comes to Sayyidah Zainab. She tells her, where's the grave of Abdullah? Tell me where the grave of Abdullah is. Zainab tells her that Abdullah is buried on the chest of his father, Imam Hussein. Rabab goes to the grave of Imam Hussein. She sits next to the grave of her son Abdullah. There's an Arabic poet, he describes the feeling. It's as if Rabab says, my dear son Abdullah, come and sleep on my chest, because the chest of your father is broken, his ribs are broken. Come and sleep on my chest. As for Sayyidah Zainab, she sat on all of the graves, sitting on one, getting on top, going to another grave. She mourned all of the deceased, all of the shuhada, sitting and crying on all of the graves. One moment at the grave of Imam Hussein, and another moment at the grave of Ali al-Akbar, the grave of Al-Qasim, Auna Muhammad. And then Sayyidah Zainab got up and she started looking for another grave, another lonely grave next to the river Euphrates. Imam Zain al-Abidin said, Amma Zainab, I know exactly which grave you're looking for. Let's go together to that grave. Akhi Aba al-Fadl al-Abbas. They went to the grave on the river. خويا ما انت اللي جبتني بيدك يا خويا ركبتني. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.
Ya Hossein, 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 Ya Hossein. Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Hossein, Ya Hossein, Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Hossein, Ya Hossein. Hayya ala khairil amal, hayya ala khair, hayya ala khairil amal, hayya ala. Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya. Oh hayya ala khairil amal, hayya ala, hayya ala khairil amal, hayya ala. Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein. غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم میں اپنے بھائی کا چہلم منانے آئی ہوں، غم بہانے آئی، میں اپنے بھائی کا چہلم منانے آئی ہوں، غم کسی نے قید میں رونے نہیں دیا مجھ کو، کسی نے ہے کسی نے قید میں رونے نہیں دیا مجھ کو، سو آج فرش عزا میں بچھانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں بہانے آئی ہوں، غم وہ دشت جس پہ کہ شبیر تیرا خون بہا، وہ دشت جس پہ کہ شبیر ہے، وہ دشت جس پہ کہ شبیر تیرا خون بہا، اسے میں عرش مولا بنانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم وہ جس کی لاش قرن میں کفن بھی مل نہ سکا، وہ جس کی لاش ہے، وہ جس کی لاش قرن میں کفن بھی مل نہ سکا، میں اس غریب کی تربت بنانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو جو زخم کھائے تھے تم نے وہ زخم گہرے تھے، جو زخم ہے، جو زخم کھائے تھے تم نے وہ زخم گہرے تھے، جو زخم کھائے ہیں میں نے دکھانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو وہ جس کی یاد میں دن رات جو تڑاتی تھی، وہ جس کی یاد میں دن رات ہے، وہ جس کی یاد میں دن رات جو تڑاتی تھی، میں اس یتیم کا نوحہ سنانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی، غم حسین میں آنسو حسین تیرا لہو رائے گا نہیں ہوگا، حسین تیرا لہو ہے، حسین تیرا لہو رائے گا نہیں ہوگا، یہ وعدہ میں نے کیا تھا نبھانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو میں اپنے بھائی کا چہلم منانے آئی ہوں، غم حسین میں آنسو بہانے آئی ہوں۔
Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein. Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein, Ya Hossein. سورہ کہف سناتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ کہف سناتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ کہف سناتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ کہف سناتا ہے سورہ کہف خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ سورہ چلتے چلتے جو سکینہ کہیں گر جاتی ہے چلتے چلتے جو سکینہ کہیں گر جاتی ہے چلتے چلتے جو سکینہ کہیں گر جاتی ہے خود کو نیزے سے گراتا ہے خود کو نیزے سے گراتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ کہف سناتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے جس طرف جاتا ہے بازار میں سر اکبر کا جس طرف جاتا ہے بازار میں سر اکبر کا اس طرف دیکھتے جاتا ہے اس طرف دیکھتے جاتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ سورہ کہف جب بھی داخل کسی بازار میں ہوتے ہیں حرم جب بھی داخل کسی بازار میں ہوتے ہیں حرم پہلا پتھر یہی کھاتا ہے پہلا پتھر یہی کھاتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ سورہ کہف سناتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے خون آنکھوں سے بہاتا ہے یہ سر کس کا ہے سورہ کہف
ہر گام رلائے گا سجاد کو یہ منظر 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 ہر گام رلائے ہرگاہ ایک نیزے پہ سر شہ کا، ایک نیزے پہ چادر، ہرگاہ مرلا ہرگاہ مرلائے گا، ایک نیزے پہ سر شہ کا، ایک نیزے پہ چادر، ہرگاہ ہرگاہ بیمار کی حالت پہ کچھ رحم نہ کھاتے ہیں، رستے میں لئی اس کو درے جو لگاتے ہیں، بس خاک پہ وہ ہائے گر جاتا ہے غش کھا کر، ہرگاہ سجاد کو یہ منظر ہرگاہ رلائے گا، کہتا ہے کوئی قیدی، کہتا ہے کوئی باغی، مارا ہے کبھی درا زنجیر کبھی کھینچی، صدقہ کبھی پھینکا ہے، مارے ہیں کبھی پتھر، ہرگاہ سجاد کو یہ منظر ہرگاہ جس وقت وہ گزرے ہیں بازار کی راہوں سے، سب خون جگر ان کا بہتا گیا آنکھوں سے، وہ بھر نہیں سکتے ہیں جو زخم لگے دل پر، ہر ہرگاہ رلائے گا، ایک نیزے پہ سر شہ کا، ایک نیزے پہ چادر، ہرگاہ سجاد کو یہ منظر ہرگاہ بس ایک ہی رسی میں 12 تھے گلے باندھے، عابد کی سکینہ کو باندھا گیا ناکے سے، تکلیف میں بہنا تھی بائی تھا بہت لاغر، ہرگاہ گا سجاد کو یہ منظر ہرگاہ رلائے گا، بیمار کے عالم میں ہر غم وہ اٹھاتے ہیں، گرتے تھے سنبھلتے تھے اور ٹھوکریں کھاتے تھے، اس حال پہ عابد کے روتا تھا سر سرور، ہر سجا آخری شعر بازار کی ہر منزل اضلاع نے رہی تاریخ، 34 برس عابد کرتے رہے خونباری، دل پر میرے مولا کے چلتے ہی رہے خنجر، ہر یہ منظر ایک نیز پہ سر شہ کا ایک نیز پہ چادر یہ صدائے فغاں اور یہ مجلس ہے، یہ صدائے فغاں اور یہ مجلس ہے، ماتم و نوح اور غم کی یہ زینتیں، ماتم و نوح اور غم کی یہ زینتیں، چاہتا ہے یہ دل یوں ہی قائم رہے، چاہتا ہے یہ دل یوں ہی قائم رہے، چاہتا ہے یہ دل یوں ہی، آہ پھٹتا ہے دل کس طرح یہ کہے الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 بخش دے ہو گئی ہو جو کوئی خطا، بخش دے ہو گئی ہو جو کوئی، حق کے خدمت نہ ہم سے ادا ہو سکا، حق کے خدمت نہ ہم سے ادا ہو سکا، غم یہی ہے نہ جی بھر کے ماتم کیا، غم یہی ہے، غم یہی ہے نہ جی بھر کے ماتم کیا، غم یہی ہے تیری خاطر نہ کیوں اپنا سر دے دیا، الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 گر جیے سال بھر پھر کریں گے یہ غم، گر جیے سال بھر پھر کریں گے ہم، روئیں گے پھر تیرے غم میں مل کر بہم، روئیں گے پھر تیرے غم میں مل کر بہم، اور اگر مر گئے تو یہ ہوگا علام، اور اگر مر گئے تو یہ ہوگا علام، اور ہائے افسوس جی بھر کے روئے نہ ہم، الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین، اے حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین، الوداع اے حسین، اے حسین الوداع 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 اے شہ مشرقین، الوداع الوداع بنت احمد کے اے نور عین، الوداع بنت احمد کے اے نور عین، الوداع ہے مجاہد کے لب پر یہ بین، الوداع 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 اے حسین،
التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر لحظي مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولى وابن مولى، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلطان أبو الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك وتحت لوائك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.